Walmart is the biggest chain grocery in the world, and it's not close. There are well over 10,000 stores across 19 countries at the time of this recording, and you can bank on those numbers to continue to grow as time goes on and they continue to strengthen their brand. But in the year 2022, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, the mega giant grocery chain would make headlines for a completely different reason. But before we get there, we need to actually travel back 2 years prior to early 2020. During this time, a team of regional managers were being dispatched to the Chesapeake, Virginia Walmart store in order to conduct several interviews for an active investigation into one of their employees. That employee's name was Andre Bing, and at the time, he was a night operations manager who'd been an employee for about a decade. Despite his tenure, management had received several complaints from other team members regarding Andre Bing's treatment towards them. According to many of the associates, Andre was often mean and threatening and clearly lacked communication skills. One such employee, named Amanda, who no longer works for the company, gave an interview and recalled the regional management team coming to the store to interview them individually. She also recalled Andre's attitude towards others, saying that he wasn't easy to get along with and always thought that people were talking about him behind his back. Whatever findings were made during that investigation, it's clear that ultimately nothing came of it because Andre remained employed with the company despite the multiple complaints against him and his treatment of others. And now we fast forward back to November 22nd of 2022. Again, it's just 2 days before Thanksgiving and employees are carrying about their normal tasks. It's a pretty normal day, pretty uneventful, and as night comes, the night shift employees filter into the store and into the break room where they all gather for their nightly meeting. For this next part of the story, I was able to find an excerpt from the retelling of the events that unfolded next by an employee who was at the store and present in the room. Her name is Brianna Tyler, and this is her personal accounting or recounting of what happened. The following are her words. As the meeting begins, one of the team leaders addresses the room of around 20 associates and says, "All right, guys, we have a light night ahead of us." And these were the last words Brianna heard as Andre entered into the room and opened fire on the staff.
Just looked around the room and just shot, and there were people just dropping to the floor.
Another mass shooting less than 70 hours after one in Colorado, this time at a Chesapeake, Virginia Walmart, busy with holiday shoppers. Brianna Tyler, an employee who witnessed the shooting, recounting the horror of what took place last night just after she arrived for her overnight shift.
He shot near my head, and it was about inches away. But in that moment, it still hadn't really kicked in that it was real, because I was thinking it was like a simulation type of thing. Like, this is what we do if we have an active shooter. And the reason why I think it was that was because I recognized his face.
I was sitting like right here. The manager that was giving us our assignments, he was standing like right in front of me basically. So he was getting our assignments, and then that's when the gunman comes in, and like the first two shots, I didn't really like know what was going on. The first two shots sounded like fireworks because it was like so close, and I never like heard gunshots like up close and personal. So the first two shots didn't register to me. So I just like stood there and like, I was just like, what's happening? So, but you could see like the smoke from the gun because it was like that close, and like he was like right there. So, and it was like about 13 of us in the room, or 14 of us in the room.
Because this is shift change.
Yeah, this is shift change, exactly. Shift change. Everybody getting off at 10 p.m. and we're just coming on at 10 p.m. They were just flying. It was just bullets flying. And the third shot is when I kind of like in survival mode, like, what do I have to do to get out of this? So that's when I like went under one of the tables I grabbed a chair and like I like shielded myself from while he was still shooting, like in the room. And like while I was on the ground, like I could see people like getting shot. And like it was like he wasn't even like, I don't know how many bullets it was, but he was just like letting it go. Like I don't even. So he let out a couple shots. I'm seeing people fall to my left, to my right, seeing people like still in their chair, just struck. And he left the room. He left the room, and then he went in the hallway, and he started shooting again. So I was trying to like hear where the bullets were so I could like get out through that exit. I make the left out the break room, and I just go down the hallway, and I'm hearing the shots get closer. So I went to my left, I didn't see an exit. Then I went to my right, then the back door exit was right there. A few of my coworkers were running out, just running, hoping he wasn't gonna come after us. Because he could have easily just shot everybody in the break room, and that would have been it. I left. I got out the back entrance, not knowing if he was coming behind us or not, and I just ran.
The city of Chesapeake identifying the shooter as 31-year-old Andre Bing. Walmart confirms Bing was an overnight team leader. His home seen here with the door smashed in by police when they and other agents were on the scene investigating. Police say the gunman was armed with several magazines and a pistol that he used to kill at least 6 people. 2 of the victims were found dead in the break room, along with the gunman, who police believe died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Another victim was found near the front of the store. 3 victims were taken to local hospitals but later died. At least 6 other victims were also taken to the hospital, with 2 in critical condition. Brianna telling us of warnings she'd gotten from other employees about Bing.
They warned me that he was just the manager to look out for pretty much. You know, he would write you up just because he could, or just if you did something that he wasn't a very, big fan of. You know, he picked a lot. I guess that's what I heard. It's just, he was just that manager that would probably give you issues, but not anything to this extent.
Other employee witnesses in shock.
Just left out the break room, come in there, started capping people up in there, started shooting, bro.
Just 2 days before Thanksgiving, family members receiving frightening calls and texts from their loved ones.
His wife received a phone call about 10:18 saying that he had been shot. He clocks in at 10, so he hadn't even been there 10 minutes.
Joetta Jeffrey says her mother was inside the store during the shooting and sent her these text messages saying there was an active shooter in the store. Those surviving the incident, thankful.
Could be all gone in the blink of an eye, literally. Like, my life truly did flash before my eyes.
She goes on to say, "It is by the grace of God that a bullet missed me. I saw the smoke leaving the gun and I literally watched bodies drop. It was crazy." Brianna had just worked with Andre the night before and said that it didn't appear as if he was aiming at anyone specific when he started firing. He was just shooting all throughout the room, she says. It didn't matter who he hit. He didn't say anything. He didn't look at anybody in any specific type of way. Police responded to the calls to 911 dispatch at 10:12 p.m. as it took them more than a half hour to get to the store and investigate the scene, and by the time they entered, it was already over. Andre Bing, age 31 at the time, had taken 6 employees' lives before ultimately resorting to what most mass shooters do once they've completed their mission and been cornered. He turned the gun on himself, and his body was found in an aisle by authorities with the self-inflicted gun wound that took his life. Everyone was in a state of shock and disbelief. One of the young ladies who were present during the shooting said that she almost didn't believe it was real until she saw blood pouring out from the bodies that had fallen to the floor, and she took off running. Another female employee who'd just been hired 5 days prior said that Andre had actually walked over to her position where she was hiding beneath a table and told her to come out and go home. And despite Breonna Tyler's witness report of Andre not targeting anyone specific, investigators were able to recover several pieces of documentation that said otherwise. When investigators inspected Andre's phone, they found several documents within it, including a list of his coworkers that he'd apparently planned to kill during the attack. The motive was eventually characterized as revenge for bullying and a result of his failed romantic life. Also discovered in his phone documents was a death note in which he talked about his problems with women and his dissatisfaction with himself, feeling overlooked by his parents and feeling betrayed by one of his coworkers that he thought was his friend, and several other coworkers that preyed on his downfall and scoffed at him in secret. One of these passages read as such: "My true intent was never to murder anyone. Believe it or not, I was actually one of the most loving people in the world if you got to know me. I just wanted a wife that was equally yoked as I and obsessed over the thought. However, I didn't deserve a wife." I remember when this story broke headlines, it was one of the more baffling mass shootings in recent history, because this wasn't a random individual who ran into the store and opened fire like so many of the other cases that we've seen. This was an actual employee who had been employed for 12 years. In the aftermath, another one of Andre's former coworkers recalled his behavior and demeanor, saying Andre did a lot of weird things and that he was an aggressive type of person. Another employee said that he placed black tape over the camera of his phone because he thought that he was being spied on by the government. She also said that he had no social media, and in one instance shown here, she tries capturing Andre in a live recording for social media in a lighthearted attempt to humor him, and he can be seen quickly removing himself from the camera's eye.
Remember that it was nice, it was fun.
Bring it here?
Yeah,
We were driving in the back.
We was driving it in the back, and I was parking it and everything.
Must have been my day off.
Matter of fact, it's more fun than driving a car to me.
Yeah, they have those in the DVD store. That's all they eat.
Facebook Live, and that's Andre.
And contrary to the many reports that said otherwise, she stated that Andre was a little off, but that he never talked about anything dealing with violence ever. He only ever talked about the government, his weight, his family, and, those types of things with her. This is in stark contrast to reports from others who said that Andre had told them that if he was to ever get fired, that he would come back to the store and retaliate by killing the ones responsible. Now, it's assumed that these were also a part of the complaints that were made against Andre when the regional team conducted their investigation. But again, ultimately, there were no actions taken. And as a result of that, Walmart now has 2 lawsuits stemming from their inaction to address employees' concerns. But I think if nothing else, everyone could tell that Andre Bing was certainly different. Investigators eventually traced the 9mm handgun that was used in the deadly shooting back to a transaction that Andre Bing carried out that morning, where he legally purchased the gun over the counter. There were several clips found on his person at the time of his discovery by police. The 6 individuals whose lives were taken on a whim include Randy Blevins, age 70, Fernando Chavez Barron, age 16, Tanika Johnson, age 22, Lorenzo Gamble, age 43, Brian Pendleton, age 38, and Kelly Pyle, age 52.